The trap in the forest. The wind was cold that evening. Mark, the lone human survivor on this alien planet, tightened his old jacket. His breath formed little clouds in the air. The forest was strange. Trees had glowing veins, and small creatures, with too many legs, crawled in the shadows. Mark moved carefully. He had built a simple trap using vines, a bent tree branch, and a metal hook from his broken ship. He didn't want to catch anything big, just something to eat. It had been 2 days since he last had food. His stomach made loud noises. He checked his trap before going to sleep, just like every night. But tonight was different. As the moons of the alien sky rose high, the silence of the forest broke. Snap. The trap triggered. Something, or someone, was caught. Mark jumped to his feet. He grabbed a flashlight and a sharp metal rod. His heart was beating fast. Maybe it was a wild animal, or worse. He ran through the trees. His boots crunched the dry alien leaves. When he reached the trap, he froze. It wasn't an animal, it was a girl. She was caught in the vines, hanging slightly off the ground. Her skin was smooth and a light purple color. Her hair was silver and long, tangled in the branches. Her big eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Her arms were thin. Her dress was torn. She was shaking. Mark lowered his weapon slowly. "It's okay," he said gently, even though he knew she couldn't understand English. "I'm not going to hurt you." The alien girl looked at him, terrified. Her body trembled harder. She tried to speak, but her voice was weak. Her words were not human. They sounded like soft music mixed with clicking sounds. Mark stepped closer. She screamed. It wasn't loud, but it was full of fear. Her eyes begged him not to come near. She struggled to escape, making the vines cut into her skin. Purple blood ran down her arms. "Stop, stop. You're hurting yourself," Mark said, worried now. He moved carefully, trying not to scare her, or using a small knife he cut the vines one by one. It took time. She kept watching him, breathing fast like she expected death. Finally, the last vine was cut. She fell to the ground with a thud. Mark reached to help her, but she crawled back, eyes wide, breathing like a wild animal. She pressed her back against a tree and raised her arms to protect herself. Mark sighed. He slowly placed his knife on the ground and raised his hands. "I'm not your enemy," he said softly. "I don't know what happened to you, but I'm not like them." The alien girl didn't answer. She stared at him for a long time, then curled up into a ball. She hugged her knees tightly and shivered. Mark looked at her, feeling something. Twist in his chest. He couldn't leave her here. She looked half dead, and she was so young, maybe around 20 if compared to humans. He took off his jacket and gently placed it near her. She didn't move. He walked back to his camp, back at his small shelter, a broken escape pod with blankets and supplies. He made a tiny fire. The warmth felt good, but he couldn't stop thinking about her. She was just a scared girl, not a threat, not a monster, just someone who needed help. After a few minutes, he saw movement. She stood near the trees, still holding his jacket. Her legs were shaking, but she had followed him. Mark smiled a little. He moved to the side, making space near the fire. She walked slowly, carefully, like a deer ready to run. She sat down, far from him, but close enough to feel the heat. Neither of them spoke. The fire crackled between them. The night was cold and quiet again, but something had changed. Mark knew this alien girl didn't trust him. Maybe she thought he would eat her. Maybe she thought worse. But he had no such plan. He just knew one thing. He had caught something far more complicated than dinner. And she had no idea that this human, this quiet man, alone in the forest, was about to change her life forever. Misunderstood signals. The sun was just rising when Mark opened his eyes. Cold morning air rushed into the broken pod. The fire had died. He looked around sleepily. She was gone. The alien girl, the one he had rescued from the trap, had disappeared. Mark sat up quickly. His jacket, Gone. His backpack, gone. His only water bottle and the last protein bar, also missing. He stood up and cursed under his breath. His heart was confused, not just angry. He didn't care much about the food. He cared that she had left without a word, after he tried to help her. Still, he grabbed his boots and ran outside. The ground was soft from dew. Tiny, glowing footprints led into the deep woods. She had no idea how dangerous it was out there. Poisonous plants, sinkholes, wild beasts. And her legs were weak. He followed fast. The trail led him to a rocky slope. Halfway down, Mark spotted her, collapsed near a stream, her body curled and trembling. The jacket she stole was soaked. The backpack was beside her untouched. She had tried to run, but her strength had failed again. Mark slowly walked closer. She didn't move, but her eyes opened weakly. When she saw him, she reached for something sharp beside her. It was a jagged piece of alien glass. She gripped it tight, ready to fight, even in that broken state. "I'm not here to hurt you," Mark said, stopping a few feet away. He slowly knelt and put both hands in the air. "You're sick, you need help. I didn't come to take anything back." She didn't understand the words, but something in his calm voice made her freeze. He pointed to himself. Mark, then to her. "You?" The alien girl blinked, breathing heavily. After a long pause, she whispered something. "Ayla." Her voice was soft and dry. That single word sounded like music wrapped in sorrow. Mark smiled gently. "Ayla." "Okay." He moved closer and reached out his hand. She stared at it, then at his face, then slowly dropped the glass. Mark carried her back in his arms. She was light. Too light. Her body was cold. Her skin had tiny cuts from sharp leaves and stones. Her head rested against his shoulder. Back at camp, he wrapped her in dry cloth and gave her clean water. This time she didn't refuse. She sipped, slowly, carefully watching him. When he offered her a protein bar, she hesitated. Then, with trembling fingers, took it. Later that night, Mark checked her wounds again. He sat beside her as she rested near the fire. Her eyes didn't look so afraid now. Ayla looked at his face, then reached out with one shaking hand. She touched his shoulder, gently. Mark was surprised. Then something strange happened. A pulse of light moved across her skin where they touched like a shimmer of tiny stars. Her fingers glowed for a second, then dimmed. She gasped softly and pulled her hand back. Mark stared, confused. "What was that?" he whispered. Ayla said nothing. But she looked at her fingers, then at his face, wide-eyed, like she had seen something impossible. She backed away and covered her mouth, shocked. Her breathing became fast. Mark moved toward her. "Hey, it's okay, I didn't mean to—" "No," she whispered, almost crying. "Not supposed happen." Her voice cracked. Her eyes filled with tears. She pointed at him, then at her chest, then she said something that didn't need translation. "Human touched me, glow, bond." Mark didn't know what it meant yet, but Ayla did. She was told all her life that bonding with a human was myth, a fantasy from old stories. Her kind believed it was dangerous, even forbidden. That touch could awaken something deep in her blood, and now it had happened. The touch that changed everything. That night, Mark couldn't sleep. The fire cracked gently beside him. The strange glow from Ayla's hand still burned in his memory. She had touched him, and for a moment her body had lit up like stars trapped under her skin. He looked over at her. Ayla was sitting quietly across the fire. Her eyes were not sleepy. They were wide open, fixed on her palm. She turned it slowly, as if she no longer trusted her own body. Mark sat up. "Are you okay?" he asked. She didn't answer. Then softly she said something in broken English. "No. Safe." He frowned. "Safe from what?" She pointed at herself. "Me, not normal." Then she pointed at him. You change. Mark didn't understand what she meant, but he noticed something strange. The cuts on her arms were healing fast. Too fast. Was it because of the food? Or the water? Or the touch? The next morning, Ayla wouldn't let him near. She avoided eye contact. When Mark offered food, she took it without a word but kept her distance. Her glow was gone now, but her fear had returned. Mark tried to act normal. He cleaned the camp, boiled water, even hummed softly as he worked. But Ayla's silence was heavy, like a storm waiting in the air. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his head. He stumbled, dropped the water pot. His vision blurred for a second, then he saw something, not with his eyes, in his mind. Flashes, images, a memory that wasn't his. A cage, white lights, cold metal, screams in another language, a small alien girl being dragged away, scientists in suits. Pain. He gasped and fell to one knee. Ayla rushed over. Her hands touched his face, and the vision stopped. Mark blinked, breathing hard. What was that? He asked, shaking. Ayla's hands trembled. She pulled away. No more touch, she said quickly. It too strong, too fast. What just happened? Mark asked again. She looked at him sadly. You saw my past. Mark stared at her, stunned. I saw it, like a dream, but real. Ayla nodded. Bond, not just glow. Bond is share, memory, feeling, even pain. She held her chest. Now, you carry a part of me. Mark sat down slowly. His brain still felt like it was spinning. How is this possible? He whispered. Ayla looked away. My kind, built to connect, not with own, not with machines, only human. Mark's eyes widened. Wait, you were made for this? She nodded. Not natural, created, for war, for control. Then she looked straight at him. But no one ever bonded before. Only you. The wind outside picked up. The fire danced higher. The wind outside picked up. The fire danced higher. Mark stared into the flames. So, what now? Ayla didn't answer. She stood up and walked to the edge of the trees. Her arms crossed tightly, her eyes filled with worry. You in danger, she said finally. If they find us and they take you, use you like they used me. Who? Mark asked. The makers, she whispered. They built me. They want me back. Mark stood up too. Then we run. Ayla looked at him with confusion. You run? With me? He nodded. You didn't ask for this. Neither did I, but now, we're connected. I don't leave people behind. For the first time, her face softened. She took one step closer. Human. Strange. Mark smiled. You have no idea. That night, Ayla sat beside him again. Closer this time. The stars above were bright, but the silence between them was louder. Then she said something he didn't expect. I feel warm. First time. He looked at her. She smiled faintly. Mark didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But something had changed, and it started with a single touch. Misunderstood signals. Before dawn, Mark woke to an uneasy silence. The small fire had gone cold. The air felt heavy. Something was missing. He sat up quickly. She was gone. Ayla, the alien girl, had vanished from the camp. Mark looked around in a panic. His jacket was missing. So was his bag of rations and his water filter. For a second he felt stupid. Of course she ran, he whispered to himself. She probably thinks I'm just another threat. But deep inside, something else bothered him. Not the missing things. It was the idea that she had left without a word. He followed her trail, noticing faint imprints of her bare feet glowing in the soft alien moss. They curved away from camp, toward the deep woods. He grabbed his gear and followed. The path led him down a slope and across thick roots. Strange birds flew overhead. The deeper he went, the darker it got, even though the sky was turning light. Soon, he found her. Collapsed in a flower field, half covered in thick red leaves, Ayla lay still. The stolen jacket wrapped around her like a shell. Her skin was pale. Her lips were dry. Her hands clutched Mark's ration pack but hadn't opened it. She hadn't run from him. She had tried to bring him food in return. Mark knelt beside her. "Why didn't you eat anything?" he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. She saw him and gasped, weakly trying to push herself up. "No. No hurt," she muttered. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently, helping her sit up. "You didn't steal. You brought it back." She blinked in confusion. Mark smiled. "You thought about me." Her lips moved, forming soft, unfamiliar words. Then, in broken English, she whispered, "Give back." Mark pointed to the food. "This?" Ayla nodded. "You hungry? I take bad." Tears formed in her eyes. She thought she had failed. Mark's chest tightened. He picked her up carefully. "Let's get you back to camp." Back at the shelter, he wrapped her in his blanket. She looked more like a shadow now than a person. As Mark boiled some clean water, Ayla watched quietly. After a while, she spoke again. "Why help me?" Mark paused. "Because you needed help. That's what people do." "No," she whispered. "Not people. Not humans. Not to us." He turned and faced her. "Maybe I'm different." She stared at him. Then slowly she reached out and touched his wrist. Just a light touch. But something happened. Her body trembled, and a soft light shimmered from under her skin. The glow moved from her fingertips to her arm, then faded. Ayla's mouth opened, slightly in shock. Mark felt strange, warm. His head suddenly filled with flashes of sound, soft music, laughter, and screaming. Flashes of steel walls, a girl crying behind glass. He jerked back, breathing heavily. "What was that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Ayla looked terrified. "You feel?" Mark nodded slowly. "It wasn't mine. It was yours, wasn't it?" She curled her arms around herself. "Bond. Not full. Just touch." "Bond," Mark echoed. Ayla looked up. "You inside me, I inside you." "A little." Mark sat down, stunned. "Why?" "I don't know," she said, her voice breaking. "My kind not meant to bond with humans, just test. Never real. Until now." Mark leaned back, staring at the ceiling of the broken pod. "I didn't mean to," he said quietly. Ayla looked at her glowing fingertips. "Me too." Later, that night as they sat near the fire, Mark handed her a cup of water. She took it. Their fingers touched again, briefly. This time there was no glow, just warmth. Ayla smiled almost shyly. Mark looked at her. Somehow everything had changed between them. She had tried to leave. He had followed. Now neither of them could go back. The touch that changed everything. The fire burned low, casting soft orange light inside the broken shelter. Ayla sat on one side, quiet, her knees pulled close to her chest. Mark sat on the other, pretending to fix a piece of gear, but he kept glancing at her. Ever since their fingers touched, and he felt her memory, nothing felt normal. Mark couldn't stop thinking about the vision. A child locked in a metal room, a voice yelling in a language he didn't know, a needle, a scream. It wasn't a dream. It was her pain. And somehow, he had felt it too. She finally broke the silence. "Did it stay?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mark looked at her. "The memory, yes, it's still in my head." Ayla's face fell. "Is that bad?" he asked. "No," she said softly. "Just, no human ever held our memory before. You should forget. Your brain not made for it. Mark gave a half smile. Maybe I'm built different. She looked at him puzzled. Built? He pointed at himself. Just a joke? Ayla didn't laugh, but a tiny smile touched her lips. It vanished quickly. She stood up, walked to the edge of the shelter, and looked at the sky. Stars blinked across the dark alien sky. Then she said something that made Mark sit up straight. Bond can grow. If touch again. Mark stood too. What happens if it grows? She turned slowly to face him. Then I feel what you feel. You feel what I feel. No hiding, no lies. One mind, two bodies. He blinked. That sounds terrifying. Yes, she said. But also safe. If trust is real, Mark looked at her. You don't trust me? I do, she said. But I don't trust myself. She walked forward, stopping just inches from him. Her eyes, deep violet, searched his face. Do you want it? She asked. The full bond? Mark hesitated. If it hurts you, no. She shook her head. It only hurts if feelings are false. He thought for a moment, then slowly, carefully, he reached out and touched her hand. Their fingers met. A wave of warmth hit him, not just physical, but emotional. Suddenly, Mark was standing inside her mind. He saw flashes again. Ayla as a small child, floating inside a lab tank, scientists calling her Project E9. Her first escape, her first taste of wind, the cold, the loneliness, the years of hiding. Then, he felt something else. Her heartbeat. And it wasn't fast. It was steady. It was calm. Because of him. On her side, Ayla gasped. Her eyes glowed brighter. Her body shook slightly. She saw inside Mark's memory, too. His broken ship crashing, losing his crew, his brother, walking alone for months, the moment he saw her in his trap, the moment he chose not to be afraid. She pulled her hand back, breathing hard. Then whispered, You carry more pain than me. Mark wiped his face. He hadn't noticed the tears. She looked down. I'm not built for love. I'm made to obey. Mark stepped closer. You're more than what they made. You have choice now. Ayla blinked. And if I choose you? Mark smiled softly. Then we face whatever comes, together. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed through the forest, a deep hum. Like machines cutting the sky, Ayla froze. Her glow faded. They found me, she whispered. The ones who made me. Mark grabbed his weapon. Then they'll have to go through. Me first. When the hunters came. The strange hum in the sky grew louder. Mark grabbed his tool-turned spear and stepped outside the shelter. The trees were shaking from the wind of something moving above. He couldn't see it, but he could feel it. Behind him, Ayla stood frozen. Her eyes glowed faintly again, but this time, it was not from bonding. It was from fear. They come fast, she whispered. They track energy. The bond made signal. Mark looked at her. You mean, they sensed us because we connected? Ayla nodded. I am not just a girl. I am their creation. They never stopped hunting. The forest around them fell into silence. No birds, no rustling, just the low hum of something deadly watching from above. Suddenly, a blinding beam of white light shot down between the trees, like a spotlight searching the ground. Ayla grabbed Mark's arm and pulled him into the shadows. From the clouds above, a sleek silver craft hovered low, moving slowly. It looked like a sharp blade with no wings. The side was marked with strange red symbols. One of them glowed like a heartbeat. They will send hunters first, she said. Not machines. Living ones. They know I run. They want me back alive. You, not so much. Mark's grip on the spear tightened. Then we don't give them what they want. Minutes later, the craft disappeared deeper into the forest. But Ayla was right. From the trees, 3 figures dropped silently. Tall, armored, eyes glowing blue behind metal masks, alien. Hunters. Each one held a long energy weapon. They didn't speak. They moved like wolves. Fast. Perfect. Cold. Mark pushed Ayla behind him and whispered, "Stay low. Don't run until I say." She looked at him, shaking. "They can't die easy." Mark narrowed his eyes. "Neither can I." The hunters spread out, scanning the ground. One moved toward the broken escape pod, another circled the back. The third came right for them. Mark waited. Closer. Closer. Then, he struck. He jumped from behind the tree and drove his spear into the hunter's side. The metal cracked, and blue sparks exploded. The hunter screamed in a static voice and swung wildly, but Mark ducked and kicked him backward. The hunter fell hard, but the other two had heard. They ran forward fast, too fast. Mark turned. "Ayla, go!" She ran into the forest, and the second hunter chased her. The third faced Mark. He raised his weapon. Before he could fire, something slammed into him from the trees. It was the first hunter Mark had stabbed, raging, damaged, leaking sparks, but still alive. It tackled Mark to the ground. The spear rolled away. Mark punched it again and again, but its armor was too strong. The hunter raised a knife-like arm. Suddenly, blue energy burst from behind. A pulse hit the hunter square in the back. The body jerked and collapsed. Mark turned. Ayla stood behind the fallen hunter, holding one of their own weapons, glowing with strange light. She looked at him, panting. Mark smiled. "Nice aim." Ayla didn't smile back. "More coming. We have minutes." Mark grabbed the fallen hunter's gear. He tossed a weapon to Ayla. "Then let's move." They ran, together, through the glowing forest, between twisted trees and roots that tried to trip them. They didn't speak. Their breathing matched. Their feet moved as one. They weren't just running anymore. They were fighting back. After a mile, they reached a narrow cave hidden behind vines. Ayla waved her hand across a small stone on the ground. A soft click came and a hidden doorway opened. Mark looked surprised. She explained quickly, "Old hideout. Before. Safe. For now." Inside, the cave had old blankets, supplies, and glowing crystals stuck in the walls. It was warm, quiet, hidden. They collapsed to the ground. Mark looked at her. "They won't stop, will they?" Ayla shook her head. "No. They want me back, because I bonded. That breaks the rules. You made me more than their tool." He sat silently for a moment. "Then we have only one choice." She looked up. "Run forever?" Mark smiled slightly. "No. We fight, and we make them fear the one thing they never expected. A human who doesn't give up." Her true identity, inside the hidden cave, the silence felt heavy. Mark sat by a glowing crystal, cleaning one of the stolen weapons. Ayla stood in the far corner, facing the wall, her arms crossed tightly. She hadn't spoken in over an hour. Mark could feel something had changed in her. After the attack, after the bond, after the way she looked at that hunter before firing. She wasn't just scared anymore. She was hiding something. Finally, he broke the silence. "You knew how to use their weapons?" Ayla didn't turn around. Mark tried again. "You activated the cave door without touching it. That wasn't guessing. That was memory." Still no answer. Mark stood and walked slowly toward her. "Ayla, please. Who are you, really?" She closed her eyes. Then, quietly, she spoke. "My name is not Ayla." Mark blinked. "What?" She turned around slowly. "My real name is E9LA. I was the last creation of their Omega project. A weapon, a leader, a seed of war." Mark stepped back, stunned. "They made me to control others like me. I was meant to guide the clones, command the hybrids, and one day, destroy humans." She looked at him, voice trembling. "I was their queen." Mark's breath caught in his throat. All this time, he thought she was just a lost girl. Fragile, hunted, broken. But she was built for war. She was the reason they were searching so hard. She wasn't just a runaway. She was a threat. I didn't ask for any of this, she continued. I escaped the day they activated my mind. I saw the memories of all they'd done, how they used us like tools, how they trained me to speak like humans, think like humans, but never be one. She looked away, ashamed. But when I saw you bleeding, starving, alone, I felt something I wasn't supposed to. Mark sat down, speechless. You risked your food, your warmth, your life. For me, she whispered, and something inside me broke. She touched her chest. My commands, my code. It cracked, because of you. Silence followed her words. Mark looked up. His voice was calm. So, what now? Ayla wiped her eyes. You should leave. They'll keep coming. And once they see our bond, they'll mark you too. A human bonded with a rogue queen? That's a death sentence. Mark stood. Then let them come. Ayla looked up, shocked. He stepped closer. You say they made you to lead others? Maybe it's time you lead them against your creators. She stared at him. You don't understand. I wasn't made for love, for mercy, or trust. Mark smiled gently. Maybe not. But maybe that's why you're different. You escaped, you changed, you bonded with a human. He reached for her hand. Now you fight for something, not just against something. Suddenly the cave entrance flickered. An energy pulse hit the rock, shaking the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. They found the door. Ayla said. Mark looked toward the entrance. We hold them off here? Ayla shook her head. No, we do something they don't expect. She closed her eyes and the crystals around them began to glow brighter. Mark stepped back. What are you doing? She opened her eyes, now fully lit with golden light. I wasn't only made to control weapons, she said. I was made to be one. With a scream, the cave exploded in light. A surge of power pulsed from Ayla's body, knocking the first hunter outside off his feet. Mark stared in awe as her skin shimmered like fire. She stood tall now, no longer weak or scared. For the first time he saw her as she truly was, not just a girl, not just a queen, but something beautiful and deadly. She turned to him, glowing. This is who I was built to be, she said. Mark stepped forward and touched her arm. And this, he said, is who you choose to be now. Outside, more footsteps approached. The hunters were coming fast. But now they would face not just a human, but a queen who had found something stronger than fear. Her will, her truth, and someone who stood with her. Not like that. The ground outside. The cave shook as more hunters arrived. Mark stood beside Ayla, his heart racing. He had no armor, no plan, just a stolen weapon and the alien queen, glowing like a star and trembling slightly, as if caught between two worlds. She wasn't afraid anymore, but she wasn't at peace either. You can still run, she said quietly. Mark looked at her. You said that before. I stayed. Ayla turned toward the light outside. Then you may die beside me. Mark smiled slightly. Better than living without meaning. Outside, the hunters surrounded the cave entrance. Dozens now, metal bodies. Sharp weapons, cold minds. A voice echoed from a hovering ship above, translated through static. Unit E9LA. You are property of the Omega system. The human is irrelevant. Surrender. Ayla's eyes burned gold. She stepped forward, out of the cave, her voice clear and loud. I am not your tool, not your weapon, not your property. The voice replied, colder this time. You were made for command, not feelings. This human has corrupted your code. Ayla raised her arm and a glowing symbol appeared on her palm. Then let my code burn. A burst of power exploded from her hand, tearing through the first line of hunters. Mark ran out beside her, dodging blasts and striking one of the fallen soldiers with his spear. But it wasn't just a fight, it was a declaration. Ayla didn't just attack. She disrupted the signal networks between the hunters. She wasn't just resisting them. She was rewriting their control systems mid-battle. One by one, Their glowing eyes blinked, then went dark. A few fell. One dropped its weapon and stood still. The others began to hesitate. From the ship above, the voice now sounded confused. "Unit E9LA, your override is unauthorized." Ayla shouted back, "It's not an override, it's freedom." The hunters paused. Then, one of them stepped forward and knelt. Mark watched, stunned, as more followed. Not all, but enough. Even Mark could tell. Something massive had just changed, not just in the battle, but in her. As the ship powered up a final weapon, Ayla turned to Mark. "There's one last signal I can send," she said. Mark frowned. "What kind of signal?" "One that ends the program, ends their control, ends me." His eyes widened. "Wait, what?" She looked at him calmly. "I was made with a core command, self-shutdown. I can send it through the hive and stop everything." Mark grabbed her hand. "You don't have to do this." Her voice softened. "You saved me. You showed me I could choose. Now let me choose something bigger than myself." "No," Mark said. "That's not the only way." And then, he did something that surprised even Ayla. He kissed her forehead. Soft. Human. Real. "You said you were afraid I would eat you," he whispered with a sad smile. "Not your body, but your soul." She nodded, blinking back tears. "I didn't eat it," he said. "I gave it something back." Her eyes glowed again, but this time, not with power, with warmth, with love. The ship fired its beam, and Ayla raised her hand. But instead of triggering the shutdown, she sent something else. The bond. The human bond. The emotional signal. The choice to protect, not obey. A wave of human emotion wrapped in alien code. The beam cracked mid-air and shattered. The ship jolted. Systems crashed. Then silence. Total silence. The remaining hunters dropped their weapons. One spoke for the first time. "What is this feeling?" Ayla smiled. "It's called being alive." Later, after the danger passed, they sat near a new fire, under real stars this time. Mark handed her a piece of fruit he had found. She took it and looked at him. "I thought you would eat me," she whispered. He raised an eyebrow. "Not like that?" She laughed softly for the first time. "No," she said. "Not like that." She placed her hand over his heart. "You didn't devour me. You gave me space to become something new." And with that, a weapon became a woman. A queen became, a rebel and a lost human, became the spark that changed a galaxy.